And then I hit this bad time where I was just like, couldn't see color. And I heard somebody else the other day talk about it. They were talking about seeing a different way when they get into a very heavy, depressed state. And I was like, I can't actually understand what they're talking about. Like, I didn't see color for a long time. And back then you don't see it. But when you eventually come out of that state and you see color again, you go, whoa, where was I? What was happening there?
Welcome to Great Conversations with Nicola O'Donoghue, the podcast where everyday individuals share their extraordinary stories of struggle, success, and the wisdom they found along the way. I knew when Bill agreed to be on Great Conversations that this would be one hell of a conversation, and it certainly didn't disappoint. What you see is what you get with Bill, and that is one of the many reasons why I love her. She's kind and refreshingly open about her journey. She doesn't pretend that her journey is complete. She knows that she's a work in progress, and she's okay with that. In this episode, Bill speaks proudly about each chapter of her life, the easy times and the hard ones. She shares her experience of living with depression and of parenting a transgender child. And in the process, she shatters many of the myths and the prejudices that surround both of these topics. Bill is truly an inspiration, living life to the fullest with her crew by her side. Enjoy. Bill Murray, welcome to Great Conversations. How are you today?
No, I'm super good. Lovely to be here. And thanks for inviting me.
You're more than welcome. I'm very excited to have this conversation. So, in the spirit of kicking off our podcast in the new way, you have a question that was left by the previous guest. Are you ready?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Given your present experience, what advice would you offer your younger self and why? Good.
You know, I look at it and I just, oh, hell's teeth. Look, for me, in my current situation, and saying that to myself, I would say just surround yourself with kind people in your personal and working life, because it's hella tough out there, and kindness will help you on the roller coaster that is life. That's all I could think of.
Oh,
Just
I love it.
bring your tribe. Make sure they're a kind tribe, whoever they are.
And why is kindness so important to you?
I think currently the world is brutal, but I mean, I think it's tough. I think we're living in a very hard, stressful, fast environment, and we all just need to breathe, just calm down, and embrace a hug. I think I love a hug more than anything, and I just feel like we all need hugs and loves. We actually just do. It's like enough of being like, tough, man up, do stuff. Just be kind to each other. We all need kindness.
Yeah.
Big believer in it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's such an overlooked quality in people that I think as you get older, you start to really appreciate it more, don't you?
Yeah.
And how would you have liked kindness to have shown up when you were younger? Tell me about your journey.
Look, my story is I from a divorced family, and I think that's affected me quite deeply. My dad's and my relationship well into my 20s. I wish I'd been kinder to him and understood, or I think you're too young to sort of base it, but I think I could have been kinder to a lot of people. I think I was quite a harsh little girl and a teenager and a 20-year-old. But I think the older I get, the more I value the kindness and just going, sure, you don't have to be tough. You don't have to have this big shield of brute force, and it's just not good for you, So, 20s, I battled heavily with depression. I realized I'm a chemically imbalanced human, And I've tried several times to sort of go off and go, no, I'm feeling great, feeling fantastic, don't need meds. Oof, go back into the dark space, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what surrounds me or where I'm at in my life. Sometimes it will just hit and it's out of my control. So I'm very aware of it. And I think depression for so many years in your life is hard, and a lot of people don't understand it, never will. And that's where kindness comes in. It's amazing to find kind people who are honest and make you not feel alone.
Take me back if you don't mind. So let's start at the very beginning. I feel like breaking out into song. What is it? The Sound of Music. Start at the very
It's
beginning.
a
I'm not going to
very
sing.
good place
I'm
to
not going to
start,
sing.
Nicola.
Yeah, exactly. See, there we go. You know it. But yeah, the sort of bill that you just alluded to, then this that was clearly, bill against the world and carrying a lot. So tell me, like, where did you grow up? What was going on for you?
Um, we moved around quite a lot. My mother remarried. He was an alcoholic, which was unfortunate. He was a bit of a scar in my my battles, but also a good learning. Got through school. I was a naughty little shit. My poor mother. I mean, she really deserves a medal for putting up with that. She was a single parent most of the time. I did terribly in school. I was one of those kids who hated studying. And it turns out I have passed that gene pool on quite well to my little one. Hated studying, hated school, was only interested in sport. And from a very young high school age, I knew what I wanted to do in my career. I just wanted to be on television, and I realized that I was never going to be an actress, so I wanted to be behind the scenes. So advertising was my goal from a very young age, and it didn't matter what happened, how I did it, that was going to be what I did. And we didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't go and study, so I got onto a train with my little Forksy and jetted off to the big smoke in Johannesburg and started my career there, living with some mates, and went and became a receptionist at a print place, and then got to know print production people and wormed my way into advertising space. So I literally started at the very bottom and just learnt everything by just sponging information. It was a long way to go and do it, but it's made me learn everything in the business. I mean, I worked in every single department, and it was. And Joburg, I stayed there for about 6 years. Hard years. Joburg's hard. It's like a brutal work hard, play hard. You live and breathe your career. That's all we did. It was such a great thing. I've worked in the ad industry for so many years, and I got quite frustrated because I wanted to get involved in everything. I wanted to understand finance, and I wanted to understand this and this and this. And a lot of the time, to be honest, it was like, little lady, just why don't you just stick to that little job there? You money talk, aha, running. And I was like so frustrated. And then I worked at this place, and this guy, he was not an ad man. He was a businessman, and he ran a beautiful agency, and the culture was palpable, and it was so exciting for me. And his name's Adrian Hewlett. He's a very successful businessman locally in South Africa. But I watched his whole journey of being such a beautiful entrepreneur and business minded, and ruthless as some of them are, but he still had a beautiful culture within. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I sitting here? I'm, I've got so much to offer with my IP. I'm like, I can do this. I can run a business. I want to be like that guy. I mean, look, I missed the beat a bit because he was in his 40s and a millionaire. Like, I was in my 40s and only starting my business. I was like, damn it, I'll get back there. I'll achieve that. And so he actually inspired me to, without him knowing, to leave the industry forever and go and do this.
At what point was the shift? Maybe it was a few different things where you did move from seeing the way that you see the world and how your brain works and the strengths that you have, from labeling that as stupid and something heavy to carry, to then seeing it as a superpower, which it is, and then using that to go and start your own business. But if you look back, was there, like, what was the journey to that, to becoming kinder and more self-accepting to yourself?
Do you know, it was just seeing that I really didn't have to fight to find business. Like, the business came to me. People were knocking on my door. I was so like, what? This is amazing. Next minute, another phone call. Next minute, another phone call. I thought, wow, I left a mark out there. Clearly, it was a good one along the way. It wasn't something I was purposely doing, but, I'm sure I left some bad marks as well. But clearly, the good ones overweighed the bad ones. And my network was strong, and I was supported, and people really wanted to get my opinion, and that changed for me. I suddenly was like, this is amazing. This is, I'm not a big deal, and I don't see myself like that, and I don't like to work with people who are not nice people. And I also said I had like goals in the beginning of my business. The business started, I was like, I was not in this to get rich. I was not in it for anything other than to have a really good career, my own business, to be able to spend time with my family, to be on the mountain when I want to be on the mountain, and just to not work with assholes ever again. It was so simple for me. And every now and then you do have to deal with some of them, and then I'll speak to my business partner or whoever I'm dealing with and go, my gut is just going, yuck. Like, oh, but we need the business. I'm like, yeah, but then we're not staying true to what we just like. No assholes allowed. I don't want to have that toxicity in I'd rather be poor, and something else will come. And true as not, something else does come. But I'd rather say goodbye than carry on with a terrible journey.
It sounds like that was a big shift in your journey, because you said when you started off, it was the 90s heydays of advertising in Johannesburg and very toxic environment. So take me into that. I'm really curious. Like, are we talking Mad Men? I mean, what are we talking
Oh,
about here?
totally.
Seriously. And like, how were you, like, so
Yeah.
the bill then, the bill that was operating and working in that environment, what were some of the things that you were dealing with? What was going on? What was present there for you?
Look, it's very male dominated back then, and sexism was rife, as it still quite is prevalent in our industry, but wherever we're working on that. It was a party mentality. I mean, it was drugs, sex, and rock and roll all the way. I mean, how we functioned half the time is beyond me, but we just did it. You'd like wake up, blithering wreck, and drive to work and carry on. And that was your work kind of environment. I had an amazing mentor, though, and he guided me super well. He was like a much older boss, John Drake, and still, like, I look to him as my savior back then. And I'd come to work, be so hungover, and he'd say, "Not on my watch. You pull yourself up, you get through it. I'll go and get you a Coke and a burger, and you get back to your desk and you push through, and off you go." But there was never excuse. There was never like time when I would ever phone and go, "Ooh, too hungover." You just go. You just machine through. It is like that. What was like that? Oaks would go for lunches and then go and have a little sleep underneath their desk for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? It was wild. We had best parties ever, but again, not great for your brain.
To be honest, it was very similar when I started off in my career. I mean, I look back now and I see how people conduct business now, and you're right. We used to go, we'd hit it hard, we'd finish work at midnight and go drinking, and get in early hours, 1-2 hours, stumble into the office, and then oh, let's work on this massive merger that we're going to float on the London Stock Exchange.
Exactly.
You've
Yeah.
had like half an hour sleep and you're still pissed. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane. It's insane. You think the way you
Here's a
used to
million
work.
rand budget for you to work on with your
Oh,
booze breath and your hungover state.
exactly.
Thanks. Let me work those numbers out.
But you thought that you were invincible. Like there was just something about that time, but particularly for me, like, the ego, there was part of me that really got off on that. Although as you say, you go in and you're dealing with the sexual harassment and the misogyny and the toxic environments, but then there's also on the flip side just this. It was like quite a hedonistic experience, wasn't it? To sort of an
Oh,
introduction to career. And I'm really interested, like, what was the impact that had on you personally in this time? Like, how were you personally
bad,
dealing with it?
bad, bad, bad. Because that kind of on all the time is just so bad for depressants, and all you're doing is you taking one thing to cover up the next thing. So you're just going into such a dark space. And when you eventually do breathe, you realize you're in that fetal position in the dark room, rocking yourself. It's horrible. And my depression got very bad in my 20s. And it probably was all the excessive partying and that goes on with it. Lots of therapy and finding the right meds to get my brain on a track helps, and then also getting out of Joburg.
When were you diagnosed with depression? Like, what's your journey with depression been?
In my early 20s, actually.
Like, and what
Um,
was it that sparked that diagnosis? Like, what happened?
in fact, I was talking to somebody about it the other day. It's like I got into a state where, look, suicide's always been a bit of a thing in my head, a niggling thing in my head, which is frightening. Um, and luckily, I've never done anything about it, and thank God, because I'd never have experienced this amazing world. But it's still there. It's whether you like it or not. It's that knocking on your door every now and then. That's the importance of keeping on those meds. And then I hit this bad time where I was just like, I couldn't see color. And I heard somebody else the other day talk about it. They were talking about seeing a different way when they get into a very heavy depressed state. And I was like, I can't actually understand what they're talking about. Like, I didn't see color for a long time. And back then you don't see it, but when you eventually come out of that state and you see color again, you go, whoa, where was I? What was happening there? Very,
Mm,
very dangerous. But I got a lot of help, and then went on my journey of discovering like it's a chemical imbalance and it needs to get sorted out,
mm,
and have stuck to as much as I can in my life. I do. That's me. I'm gonna like go. I'm super healthy. I'm super happy. Everything's going well. I don't need meds anymore. Poop, poop, meds. Go on it. Literally, I could time it. 2 weeks
mm.
later, in the dark space again. I'm like, this is pissing me off. I don't want to be like this. This is actually, it freaks me out. I don't want to be like this, but it is. Now I've just go, it's not an option. You stay on your
Yeah,
meds. It doesn't matter
yeah,
what's going on. You just stay on your meds. Just keep them going. It's such a small
yeah.
dose, but it helps.
And can I, like, do you mind me asking and probing a bit further about your depression? I'm really
Go
like,
for it. Yeah.
yeah, because I'd love to know, I guess, two parts, like understanding, and you mentioned about the world without color, but trying to understand your experience of when you are in a depressed state. Like, what is there anything that happens? How do you experience the world when you're living like that? Like, what impact does it have on you? Is there anything that sparks that? And then, from the other side, if somebody's living with or friends with family members, they think that they might be depressed. Like, what are some of the things that, some of the, I guess, the signs for us to look out for so that we can identify when somebody is depressed? And then how do you even navigate that journey of providing help?
Oh, it's such a tough one because um, I'm very much the organizer and the friends and the family group. So I'm always organizing stuff and doing stuff. And I like to be very social and stuff. And if I hit a patch, immediately I exit all conversation. I don't even want to talk because now I just need to be. And that's the trigger. That's like an alarm bell. So if I'm not in your face. I mean, like, I think some of my friends must think I'm like a very needy friend, but I love my friendship group very deeply. And I want them to interact and do stuff. And if I go quiet, then it's an alarm. My patience level, if I'm snappy, that's also a bit of an alarm for Rory because I'm not normally. And then he'll go, oh, what's happening? And he'll watch. But you know what? It's it's difficult even for my partner because he's never understood depression, and my sister's never understood depression, and all the people that don't have never felt it. It's very difficult for them to understand it. It's
Yeah.
hard to be around those people because you will never get it. But as you get to know those people, you should see and be able to read those things. Like when I was pregnant with Cameron, um, they knew I had depression, so they were on full alert all the time and just said the postpartum is a real thing. So we need to be watching for that. And true as nuts, it was just like, poof, hit me like a train. And luckily, they that gynae was saying to my husband and my mom, just like, you need to watch because if you've got depression, it sometimes can come out quite hectically. And they were there for me, and but there, Nicola, it goes back to that tribe of kindness of people who just have your back. It's like you have to have those people. I mean, I could. I don't think I would ever have coped without the friendship groups, my Joburg girlfriends, my Cape Town friends. Without them, and I wouldn't be a survivor like I am now.
And what are some of the things that help you when you're in that state?
Well, not going to lie, the mountain. It's my safe space. It's my zone. If I don't exercise, it definitely affects me. It's like that. Just go and breathe. Just do exercise. Cooking is also cooking and music. If I'm feeling really, it's in that kitchen cooking, long, slow food, intricate food, music, some nice champers or whatever. Just go. Just be in a happy space, and it does make me feel better. Or just going to talk to a friend. A walk and talk is normally the best thing for me. It's like walk and talk, walk and talk. It's great.
It's interesting when you said talking, because I'd have like what I tell myself is that people who are depressed don't want to talk about it. So the worst thing would be to like not make them, but make them talk about it, like sort of show up and be like, come on, you're going to talk about it. So that's really interesting to me. So, I mean, and I guess you can't, like anything, you can't tar everyone with the same brush. So, there may be some people that don't, but it's interesting that talking is something that really helps when you're feeling depressed and when you're in that state.
Also, in our industry and advertising, I was surrounded by people who battled with depression, and they all kept quiet about it. And I never understood that. I was just like, why are we keeping this a secret? We're like, there are so many people who battle with depression. It's like a common cold. People are just like literally plagued with depression and they don't like to talk about it. And I'm like, why is that? Why are we not honest? And the more I openly, and people would go, what? Are you mad? I mean, you're like the happiest person. I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like those are the worst kind of people, because they really do battle with it. But yes, I battle with it, but let's talk about it. Let's just,
Yeah.
like, I get you, I understand, and it's horrible, and you're not alone. Like,
Yeah.
we need to support each other on mental health, actually.
Yeah. I think it's a battle, isn't it? I think some people nowadays are more inclined to be like, oh, I won't get involved. Or, they don't know where to start, or they feel so uncomfortable about navigating it. Or, yeah, I'm just maybe unfairly so trying to get a crib sheet of advice of, how do you identify someone that's depressed, and
I
what are some of
don't
the
think you
telltale
can.
signs? You can't.
I don't
Yeah.
think you can. I think some of the happiest people that you meet are deeply
Yeah.
depressed. And
Yeah.
some of the very sad people out there are actually okay. They're just sad. So,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. It's like, it worries me because I think those people that are brave and have that front the whole time are the ones to watch out for. Like,
Mm.
consistently always happy. Somebody said to me the other day, is your life really as good as it is on Instagram? Because you seem to be having the best time. And I was like, absolutely, my life. Do you know why I make my life so exciting and adventurous? And because it's like, I'm so grateful for life. Like, I
Yeah.
really am. And have, I want to have lasting memories with my kids and do incredible stuff. And I think I'm very grateful for being alive, actually.
Yeah. You've talked about a difficult childhood, going into advertising, toxic industry, depression, postpartum depression. I mean, Jesus, you've had so many difficulties and challenges, but in the moment, like, what is it that helps you take a deep breath, go, I'm just gonna, get back up again, and keep going, and learn the lessons and grow stronger from it? Like, what is it about? How do you do that practically?
I, I made a good life choice with my partner. He's my best friend and such an amazing support. And I don't think a lot of people have the uh, the kind of relationship that we have. It's incredibly strong and it by no means perfect, but my God, that's my team member. That's my team player. And to have these kids that I have and we have, you just want to make yourselves as good as possible for them to see that, depression is not, it doesn't define you. It is part of your who you are, and that is it. But it doesn't end. It's you just carry on and go and not carry on. Uh, just put your back up and do that. I don't believe in that. Be weak, be honest. Um, let them know it's okay. Cry hard.
Mm.
Show your vulnerability, definitely, and call in your tribe. You know,
Yeah.
we do that. My kids know how the friendships that we've got are insanely diverse, and there's a lot of different friendship groups that I have, and that's what I love to have around all these beautiful people in my life and in
Mm.
their lives. I want them to see it. They're also honest with my kids, and they've been great with our kids. I've had to cull some friendships because of my kids and people not understanding or not agreeing with the way it is. And so be it, you take me and you take my kids with me. And then when Lisa came out, it was obviously incredibly hard for Rory. Me, I go into cheerleader mode. Okay, right, got this, sort it out. I'm in the front there, woo, woo, woo. And bringing him on that journey and was a bit tough in the beginning. But you were talking about suicide. When it comes to transgender kids, the suicide rate is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's something like 60% of them commit
Yeah.
suicide, and I was just like, not on my watch. No
Mm.
ways. This is going to be a journey that we are with you. We'll support you. We do whatever it takes. And mom and dad and Cameron and Gran are all, and my sister, everybody was just fully on board.
Yeah.
She's actually, in hindsight, having a very she sometimes goes, I don't understand what you're on about. It's like, whatever. I don't need to be a part of a transgender group. I'm like, I don't even relate to them. I'm like, she
Yeah.
really just doesn't see what the big deal is. And
So tell me, I've got a list of questions because this is obviously a hot topic. Some of them are not mine and are cribbed in the spirit of education. So they're not necessarily my views, but I'd love to just help because it is such a massive topic at the moment. So just even going right back to basics, what does it mean to be transgender? So what is transgender?
I would say it's you were just born in the wrong body right from the
Okay.
beginning. It's like right from day one. If we Lisa was born with a smile on her face. She's been the happiest kid ever. She's had a beautiful childhood. Um, we This kid is just like skips into school. Always has everybody high five, high five. Always only loved hanging out with the girls. What do you want to choose? Do you want a ball, or do you want? Oh no, I'll have that handbag from the beginning. What
Mm.
clothes? Leggings, tights, little tops. And so I thought, well, listen, I've got an incredibly diverse bunch of friends, as I've said. So I've thought, okay, well, maybe we're looking at gay here because this is just carried on for years and years and years. And then she heard about uh, Kylie Jenner, and then we started talking about that in the car, and she was like, "What? Do you mean you can actually change your sex?" I was like, Rory and I were like, "Oh God,
Mm.
that's like it was so real for her." She was like, "Wait, hang on," and then she started saving money, and then one of the parents at school said, "Do you know what your son is saving money for?" So I said, "I can probably gather a guess," and she said, "For a sex change." I was like, "Yep, that's probably the one." And then I was
Wow.
just like, wow, this kid is actually banking all this information and thinking about it. And I said to Rory, like, I understand the gay world. I do. I do, but I do not understand the transgender world. It's
Yeah.
totally new to me. I have no idea what we're getting into. Are we
Yeah.
getting into this? And then we found there's a gender specialist in Cape Town, brilliant, brilliant man, and we eventually got an appointment and went to go and see this guy, and it was hours of these us in a room, then Lisa in a room, blah blah blah, and eventually I came and just said, "I'd like to introduce you to your daughter, Lisa," and she had her name and everything, and we were like,
Wow.
"Well, I could physically watch my husband's soul leave his body in that room," and I was just like,
Yeah.
he was like, no ways, this is not happening.
So how old was Lisa when this was happening?
But nine,
Fuck me
so
up.
so 11. I think she was 11 when we had that appointment, but we could see things were happening from about nine. So 11,
So so many people struggle with, is this real? So like,
yeah,
so the whole thing is, oh, when we were younger, there were no trans people. You were gay or straight.
yeah,
That was basically what it is.
yeah,
You were a goth or whatever. So like, how is it? Is it a phase? Is Lisa gay? Like, as
yeah,
you say, what's the
yeah,
difference? So are the majority of transgender people gay? Is that like, what is
no,
the
it's not.
difference? How do you know that it's not a fad? Like,
It's not about their sexuality. It's about their gender. So they just feel they're in the wrong body. So right now, it's not even a sexuality thing for Lisa. It's not about that at all. She's, like kids nowadays, like they all like, oh, okay, it's boys and girls, whatever the story is. So
mm,
that's like not an issue for her. So it's not a landing thing for her. It's about her body and what she perceives herself as. She's all girl. Let me tell you, it's like, and also we went through every single thing that you could possibly tick off to make sure that we're on the right journey. And even now, we will cross off every single like you're in therapy and gender therapy and this and rights doctors on board. And it's very well monitored to make sure that you are covering all the options. And if Lisa decided to change her mind, that's absolutely fine. Bombs away, off you go. There's she can change her mind. Does she? Do we think she'll change her mind? Absolutely not. I don't think so. But if she does, that's absolutely fine with us as well. We rather support her than fight it. Like there's I am part of a group of transgender parent support group, and it's devastating to see what goes on in families. It's like every day I look at those messages and go, thank God she is not in a family like some of these kids are. And thank God she's not 21 and coming out. Because as a transgender person, you're in that body already. It's
Yeah.
so difficult for them, and their journey is going to be tough. And Nicola,
And
we know this journey is going to be hard. Make no mistake, we do. Again, surround yourself by kindness because it's going to be a rough ride, an absolute rough ride.
how do you navigate it as a parent? Because, like, again, one of the things levied against, like, it's crazy, isn't it? Levied against transgender people, making them out as if they don't know their own mind and their body.
Mm.
It's the ultimate form of oppression, isn't it? But there is that body of thought that it's imposed on them. So, because it's so visible now and it's the cool thing. And people are, parents are quick to go, oh yeah, now my child is trans. And so then these kids are sort of forced into these identities and they go down this, which I'd love to know more about in a minute, but like the
Yeah.
journey of transition. So then, like, how do you balance that between, how do you balance that as a parent? How did you?
And it's a long journey and something we take incredibly seriously. And that's why we say, like just first you socially transition. So it would be the name change and the acceptance of the name change, and then schools, and then telling people, and when you're ready, telling friends, family, the school, etc. And I had to do a ninja bomb into that school and go, listen, this is the story. And they'd never had a transgender kid.
Mm,
So we navigated that together. It was not easy, and they ticked some boxes. Did they embrace it? No, I don't think so. I don't think a lot of schools do. Um, there are schools, but I think a lot of them are really just ticking a box saying we're very, accepting. And are you though? Because
mm,
then you must accepting is one thing, but it's all the other kids in the school. Are
yeah,
they all accepting? Is that the kind of environment? Yes, they say it is, but it's not always the case.
yeah.
Uh, we've had highly religious people attack us in whatever religion, which also just saddens me a bit. And like I said, we've lost friendships, not a lot, thank goodness, but definitely have lost uh, family members who didn't quite get it or won't get it will just keep mouths shut, like got to be careful about what they say now in front of, you know.
I find the the backlash collectively around transgender really intriguing. I feel as if it, they provoke a lot of uncomfortableness in other people, because I think when, like, what you're talking to with about Lisa, and you and I have chatted about her a lot before, of just being so confident in her body and knowing with every
Mm,
part of her being who she is. And I think a lot of people are unnerved by that, because a lot
mm,
of us live so inauthentically, and we have these identities that are, sometimes imposed by society, oftentimes self-imposed. And so when we see people that are fully embracing their true authentic self, and as you say, transgender, it's through gender, people get really shameful and judgmental and angry and violent around that. It's like, I always
mm.
go, why give a shit? Why does it matter? Who
Yeah,
genuinely cares? If Lisa wants to live her life as Lisa, so fucking what? If she's an
yeah,
asshole, then I've got an
yeah.
issue. But
Me
like,
too.
as if, why does it matter? But I think it's that. I think it brings up this, like, deep, it brings to the surface the inauthenticity that a lot of people are living in their life, and it makes them uncomfortable to see people so confident, and I'm not, again, tarring all transgender people, because they're dealing with a lot, as you say, the you know, society's trying to squash every part of them being their true selves, and I just can't even imagine. But they've raised their hands and says, I want more for my life, and this is what I want. And
Yeah.
that takes so much courage, and
God,
I
she's
just
so
have so much
brave. Yeah.
admiration. I have so much admiration for people that know themselves at that level, and then are committing at whatever stage of their life to live their authentic truth, in whatever way that looks.
Yeah. And Nicola, like when we did speak about it to our friends, so many of my gay friends said, "You don't understand what you've done for this kid." It's like maybe it would have been different for us back then. Like maybe their journey would have been completely different. Maybe, like maybe they would have been happier human beings if they were let to be who they actually wanted to be. I think
Yeah.
we've got a lot of damaged older people out there because they actually just wanted to be a woman or a man, and they never lived their full, journey. The toilets were an issue, and I was like, oh, I don't want my little girl being around a boy. It's like, that is the last person you need to worry about. I can promise you. Like,
Mm.
it's the last people you worry about in the toilets are a little transgender kid. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just
Yeah.
fear mongering and ignorance, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
that's like where people go to, because obviously everyone goes to, oh, then the sex surgery, because that's just, because then that gets, as you say, it's perceived as somehow seedy as soon as you start throwing sex into it. So, as you say, the toilet issue, but the transition journey for a transgender person, you said before, I hadn't even really thought about it, but just Lisa legally changing her name and gender, and
mm.
like passport, and being acknowledged as
Yeah.
such. So
Yeah.
what is like her journey been, and then what has she got, like what is her journey to fully transition and live her life as Lisa? What's that gonna look like?
Well, legally we can't. We could change her name now. It's fine, but we're traveling now, and she'll have to travel on her obviously her born her name and everything, which upsets her because now she's going as Leaf. Eventually, we'll do name change, gender change on passports, IDs, and all of that kind of thing. It's all got to be done, and it's such a ball ache. It's like a big mission in this country. It's not easy. Half of the WhatsApp group is all about the name changing and what you go through on that. Um, and
And
then
what are the
there's
roadblocks? Why is it so difficult? Like, why do they make it so difficult?
I think it's just bureaucracy and not understanding as well. It's just very difficult. Not too many people. There's certain places that we find amongst the group, like this lady at that counter. She's fair and nice and non-judgmental and doesn't give the whole what, what's going on, or
Mm.
deal with that. We deal with this at chemists not having the right name for medicines and stuff like
Oh
that.
God, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's so many. Her report comes through in her what they call the dead name. So you can't change that until she is changed legally.
In
Um,
school. So
yeah,
even the school.
the school will change her name as Lisa, but in a report, she'd come. The report is to Leaf Murray.
Wow. And
Yeah,
exams and everything, like
yeah,
qualifications, will all be
yeah.
in
Until we
in
change her
her old
name
name.
legally. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, And then the next thing is the estrogen and taking your going through that whole story, very monitored, great doctors, all of that kind of thing. But having the surgery is a decision she can make at a much later stage in her life. It's
Mm.
a choice for her of when she leaves school. You don't have that
Mm.
until you're 18.
And the
Um,
access to the gender affirming care, because you sounded, I mean, I think this is one of the most underappreciated things globally, is the phenomenal private healthcare that you have in South Africa. I mean, it's just never fails to astound me, the quality of care.
Yeah.
It sounds as if Lisa's been able to access a lot of that. Is that so? That her
Very
access to,
fortunately, yes.
yeah, wow. Because I
Yeah.
know that in the UK, the people just don't have access to the level of gender affirming care that they need. So Lisa's been able to access the estrogen, and so she's on that journey hormonally
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, and again, monitored all the way by doctors, gender specialists, and the hormone doctor as well, and therapists, and all that. They've all got to give the green light here before you go onto estrogen. You've got to get a green light off, all these different people saying it's the right thing to do. You
Yeah.
know, so it's not just a
Gosh.
choice that you willy nilly go, well, we think we'll do that. It's nothing like that. It's very monitored, which is great. You want it to be monitored. It's a big,
Yeah.
big decision, something that,
It's, it's like the double-edged sword, isn't it? Because what you're talking to is, yes, the checks and balances are in place. So these horror stories that you get in the press of, John became Jill and then went through all this care and transitions, and then now she's transitioning back, and as if they make out as if it is just this fad, and so it's interesting to know that there's so many checks and balances in place. This is not undertaken lightly. But then also
yeah.
there's a side of me that's really sad for Lisa, that she has to jump through so many hoops in order to be
Mm-hmm.
able to live her life in the way that she wants. And
It
I
is.
mean, I sort of understand, but
Yeah.
then it's sad as well, isn't it? And like, how are you as a parent? How are you navigating that? So for anyone who you know has his son or daughter's come out as trans, or somebody who knows somebody in their family, or close group who are trans, like, what advice would you offer? Like, how are you both in terms of how you are dealing with it, because I'm sure there's a huge emotional journey that you're going on as well. Like, even though you've quickly got to acceptance and championing Lisa, there's still a journey you go through. So what advice would you have for somebody to navigate and look after themselves, and then also how they should be showing up for the person that's that's come out as transgender?
Sure. You've got to be very kind to yourself because it's such a non-navigated journey. It's like very interesting. You educate yourself first and foremost. It's probably the biggest thing you can do is to educate yourself on everything. Get into groups like that. Surround yourself with people who know better and have the legal experience and the experience of going through this. It's very important. It's like when we go to the groups, Lisa, the teenagers go into one group and the parents go into the other group. And Lisa's like, I don't want to be there. I don't have anything. I don't relate to them. I was like, actually, it's not about you. It's great for mom and dad to go into that group and speak to parents because we all sitting there going, what the hell? What's going on? Where do we go? How do we navigate? And then we learn off each other. So
Mm,
you're finding a tribe that is only bringing kindness
mm.
into a very tough journey.
As you're talking, Bill, it's just your philosophy for life just seems to be so wedded in. I mean, we started kindness, but also curiosity and like an openness, like a real, just this giant open heart that's just curious and wants to spread love. It's, yeah, such a
I
beautiful
do.
way of
It's so
being. And
important.
and I mean, Jesus, you have like your journey and your story is just unbelievable. The things that you've had to navigate. And I'd love to know, what's your biggest lesson that you learned as you look back now over your life and your journey? What's your biggest lesson that you've learned?
There's so many, Nicola. So many lessons. I mean, I'm still learning them. Like, I think the kindness thing is so important.
Mm,
Um, for me, like the one big one, it was like 100%. I believe that making work not your worth was a huge life lesson for me. Like, don't make it your everything, because it's not your everything. It really isn't. So that was a huge thing for me. And another big thing is to keep yourself mentally happy so that you can weather all the storms. Like, you have to be mentally strong for this, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. And I think I work very hard at working through those things permanently. So you have to. We're ongoing homework, aren't we? It's like,
Yeah.
I learn stuff every day, and you just got to sponge that. So
Yeah.
life lessons: be a sponge. Don't make work your everything. Love abundantly.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick. Just be kind.
I know, and it's so much easier. Yeah, don't be a dick. I mean,
Just
just
don't
bumper
be a
stickers bumper stickers all around, isn't it? Really.
T-shirts, flags. I'm out there. Just be nice to each other. Yeah,
Exactly. No arseholes welcome here. Should get that above my door.
so true.
And so we have beautiful closing tradition, which I know you're very excited about. Bill Murray, please tell me, what is something that other people value that you don't?
Oh, this one I've had so much fun with, and like I said to you, I've like asked so many people, and it's wonderful to see the result. So I realized the thing that other people value that
I knew when Bill agreed to be on Great Conversations that this would be one hell of a conversation, and it certainly didn't disappoint. What you see is what you get with Bill, and that is one of the many reasons why I love her. She's kind and refreshingly open about her journey. She doesn't pretend that her journey is complete. She knows that she's a work in progress, and she's okay with that. In this episode, Bill speaks proudly about each chapter of her life, the easy times and the hard ones. She shares her experience of living with depression and of parenting a transgender child. And in the process, she I shatters bloody many love of the that. And I myths and love the this question prejudices because that the answers surround that you both of get, as these you say, it topics. gives such an insight
mm,
into Bill the
mm,
person.
mm.
is
truly
an
an
Oh my God.
inspiration,
living
that
life
is
to the
freaking
fullest with her
brilliant.
crew by her
Bill,
side.
thank you,
Enjoy.
thank you so much for your time. Thank you for, I mean, I knew you would anyway, throwing yourself headfirst into this conversation and being so honest. And I feel like the topics that we really got into are going to be so helpful because there's a lot of people that are dealing with these same issues. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your lessons and talking so openly about it. Thanks for having me. Thank you to the amazing individuals who make Great Conversations possible, my editor, Stian Moritz, musician Jamie Jenkin, and our incredible guests for their openness. Our website, integrate.net, will be launching in September with loads of other exciting resources. In the meantime, feel free to click the links below for more episodes of Great Conversations. Sending you so much love. Bye for now.